Hey everybody, this is Sean and welcome to Southern Audacity. In this video, I am just going to show you how I create these designs stitched onto a beanie using my Brother VE2200 single needle embroidery machine. Stay tuned. Alrighty, so for this project, I'm going to be using the 4x4 hoop for my Brother VE2200, the single needle. Yes, my hoop is messy. This is why I don't like using adhesive spray, but at some point in time I have used it and I just didn't clean my hoops off yet. I know how to clean them, I just haven't. Don't judge me. So anyways, I'm not going to be using the sticky stabilizer, which I know some people do have a tutorial out there where they use the sticky stabilizer. I'm going to be using cutaway stabilizer. I'm sorry, this is tearaway stabilizer, the paper kind, and it is a heavier tearaway stabilizer, but I am going to hoop the stabilizer in my 4x4 hoop. And I'm going to float the actual beanie. Let's see if I can loosen this screw up. Okay, so the tearaway is hooped. And now I am going to be stitching this so that this is the outside of the hat, right? But I want the design to be right here so that when the brim is flipped up, it could be seen. So with knowing that this is the top of the brim in the outside that I want, I'm going to just use a little piece of painter's tape to mark my spot. And then I'm going to flip the hat. So this is the outside. This is the inside technically. But I am going to flip it so that that part is lined up right here in my hoop. And then I'm going to use a little, well, first I'm going to pin it down in 2 spots so that it's secured. Okay. Let me get that pinned down. And then I'll put some water soluble solvay on top of it. And you'll see a little bit better in just a few moments here. I just want to get these 2 sides pinned in place. Okay. And then let's see here. Yeah, that'll work. So I am going to get my solvay here, which I saved it from another project, of course, but that is just enough to go in there, and I'm going to pin this down. I'll pin it down right here on this end. And if you decide that you're going to use the sticky stabilizer, there are other ways that you could get the solvay. Some people, the solvay intact. Some people actually just tape it down. I have taped it down before, and that's not a problem. And now I want to kind of cuff it back a little bit because I need the solvay to go back up in there a little bit as well, right? So I know that my design is a little under 2.25 inches, okay? It's like 2.24. But anyways, it's less than 2.5 inches for sure. So this will give me plenty of space. I'm going to pin that there. And I didn't catch that solvay. Let me get that again. I just tore the solvay, tore the stabilizer. So I'm going to go to another spot and see if that'll work. Okay. And now I need to get this side pinned. And the solvay is not really difficult to work with, but it's odd having it on this hat with the cuff kind of flipped up like that. And I keep tearing this tearaway stabilizer, goodness. Let me get a longer pin, try that and see if that'll work better for me. And now because I've got a pretty decent hole right there and right there, but I'm just going to come to this end and see if I could get this pinned down. And if you do choose to do it this way, I am not accepting any responsibility. You have to be careful with your crafting. Definitely want to be careful because I have stuck my fingers quite a few times with these straight pins. Okay, but it's pinned in there. So I've got one here, one here, one here, and I don't have, oh, it's crooked. Yeah, that's really good and crooked there. So I'm just going to repin that. Okay. And this extra, I will cut that out because I don't need that in there flapping over. I don't know that it, oh, I almost cut that. Did you see that? Let me make sure I didn't. Yeah, almost. Okay, so I didn't need that in there, so I just cut it out. Now I'm going to cuff this up a little bit. Now, at this point, you can try to tape it back if you want. I'm actually going to take advantage of the fact that I have extra stabilizer on the outside here. And I'm going to use one of my longer straight pins. And I'm going to just pin that so that it's pulled up and out of the way. And I'm going to do the same thing over here and just pin it so that it is up and out of the way. Okay. So yes, you do have to be a little careful with your straight pins if you do it this way, but this is a way that I like doing it and not having to use any sticky stabilizer. And I don't use a whole lot of tape with the exception of this little bit of tape right here that I'm going to pull out. I should have pulled that out after I had it set where I needed it to be sitting at. Okay, so that's fine. So now we're going to go over to the machine, get it hooped, and I'll show you the next steps that I take. Alrighty, so I did this whole long conversation thinking that I was recording and I wasn't. So I have the hat on the machine now. I actually just hit pause. It's in the middle of doing the tack down stitch. I used Essentials by Embroidery to do a tack down stitch, or not a tack down stitch, a knockdown stitch. In Essentials by Embroidery, it is the knockdown stitch. In Sew It Pro, it is a nap tuck stitch. I do have a video on how to do the nap tuck using Sew It Pro. I don't have a video of the knockdown stitch setup for Essentials by Embroidery. But anyways, I'm using a gray thread as my tack down, knockdown. Goodness gracious, I'm gonna get it together. I'm using gray thread to try to best match this color because the whole point in this is to make sure that the fabric is laying flat so that the stitching that goes on top doesn't get completely lost down into the material here. Now, a lot of times just using Solvay will work, but I also figured I would do a knockdown stitch as a way of keeping the design from shifting too much as well as you take the hat on and off. So we'll see how that works out. The design itself I got from myself. I actually traced the design from a design I got off the internet. And just my disclaimer, this design is not for sale, nor is this hat, okay? I'm stitching this out for my husband, and Victory is the name of the motorcycle brand that he rides. It was actually discontinued in 2017, and he got one of the last ones that rolled off the production line. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and resume this stitching that I thought I had already started recording, and I'll check back with you all in just a little bit. Alrighty, so we are at the first stop, and I've already clipped the thread for the gray, and the next step calls for black thread. However, I'm going to mix these colors up a little bit because I think black would be too close to that gray. So I think the wings, I am actually going to use a red, to make that part. I guess they're wings. That's what they look like to me. And I do still try to hold my thread back a little bit when I'm threading. And that's just because I want to make sure it goes into the tension discs. I do love that a lot of these machines have auto threaders. And so now I'm gonna go ahead and stitch this red. Lower the pressure foot. And we'll see how that comes out. And then in the next step where, well, not the next step, the last step where it would have been red, I think I will stitch that out in a white thread. So once again, I'll check back in a minute. Alrighty, so now I have the yellow thread going, and we're just about halfway through stitching out the whole design, because the word victory actually takes a little bit more time. But a 14-minute stitch out total is what it says, but you know, it could be more or less depending on your machine. And oh, we're getting some shredded thread here. That's not good. Huh. Now the shredded thread could be the needle. It could be the thread. And because this one is the Synthread brand thread, I know somebody's going to be like, yep, I told you that Synthread ain't no good. But seriously, it's fine. It works. I've actually had Madeira thread do the same thing, and it might just be the needle. And I should have did a cut to get that tail off. But it's kind of bunched up back there as well. So I'm just going to trim all of that up and basically backtrack my steps so that we could try to start it over fresh without that thread shredding up. And we don't need a whole lot of yellow. So hopefully I could backtrack it enough and it'll cover whatever it missed, and we'll move on to the last color after that. But yeah, this is the Synthread brand. Uh-oh, I didn't mean to do that. You always want to thread your machine with your pressure foot up. And my finger just accidentally hit the pressure foot. Let's see. We're going to do that again because it didn't catch. Okay, that time it did catch. I'm just going to pull it all the way through. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go back 100 stitches, and we're just going to start it over again. I just did that to clip that extra thread off. And we'll see how it does this time. I'm going to pause and trim it right here. And that's because I want to make sure when it goes back during its satin stitch that it does cover up these pieces that are sticking up. I don't want to have a bunch of threads hanging out that don't need to be hanging out. And I don't know how that one got caught. I think that was the tail. You know, the little tail that sticks out. I think right here, that's the tail where it got crossed over. So I'm just going to get a push pin and try to pick that out. Okay, so that's loosened it, and now I'm going to just trim it. Okay. Uh-oh, something doesn't look good there. Yeah, it's not threaded. Somehow it was getting pushed in, but the needle is not threaded. So let's pull that off. Okay, that came off pretty easy. And I guess if it wasn't really in the needle and it's not getting wrapped around the bobbin, it will come off. But this will get done. And let's see if that works. Okay, I'm going to lower the pressure foot back up about 20 steps. So it seems to be stitching pretty well now. Alrighty, so now we are ready for the last stitch, or the last color. I told you that yellow, we didn't need a whole lot of yellow, but it wanted to act up. So now instead of doing red, because I'm using red here, I'm going to use white for this part, okay? Now this is the Madeira, what color is this? 1802. I don't know if that's Snow White or not. I don't remember the numbers like that. Let's see here. Sometimes I feel like my fingers are too big and long. Okay, I'm going to pull that through. And I clip at about that time because I like for a couple of stitches to get in before I actually try cutting it and then take a chance at it not having enough thread to actually lock and do what it needs to do. So it's about 2,000 stitches on this, and I will check back with you in just a few. Alrighty, so we are done. This is what it looks like. And so I'm going to just take it to the table, clean off some of that water-soluble stabilizer, and I'll show you the finished results. Alrighty, so we are back at the table. I did clean up a lot of the water-soluble that was around this. I will go over it with some water and then just have to dry it in front of the fan after I'm done with the video. But the only thing, this design is a little bit lower on the brim than I should have had it. I would have liked it for it to have been like right about there, where you can see this one is up a little bit higher, and where the hat was naturally folded at, the word victory sits pretty well right there at that fold. In this one, I believe it sits in the fold. Yeah, that's the natural fold, so it sits in it. So definitely have to pay attention to where your design is as far as the placement. And I probably should have did a trace just to be sure that it was going to line up where I needed it to line up at. But for the most part, I'm okay with it. I think that he will like them. And maybe I'll do one more because really I don't like this because of the way it sits in the fold. But we'll see. So I just wanted to show you all how, for the most part, I do the beanie type hats in the single needle embroidery machine. I have not tried it in my multi-needle yet. One day I will, but I haven't tried it yet. So if you have any questions, concerns, comments, leave them down below. Like, share, subscribe, and until next time, keep taking care of yourselves.